Greetings, I'm Emily Henderson, and welcome to my presentation on PrideStaff and employment agreements. First and foremost, what is PrideStaff? Well, simply put, PrideStaff is a staffing agency. Like many other companies, PrideStaff most likely sought out legal support when they prepared their legal agreements. This support could have been in drafting or reviewing their documentation. A company would do this to ensure their documentation includes all the necessary legal terms and is enforceable through current employment law. Employment law is a branch of law that deals with the relationship between employers and their employees. It is governed by a complex network of government regulations and judicial decisions. The goal of employment law is to strike a balance between employers' interests and the interests of their employees. Among the current government regulations is the Fair Labor Standards Act. This act establishes regulations for minimum wage, overtime pay, record keeping, and youth employment standards throughout the United States. For the act to apply, a worker must be classified as an employee. To determine if a worker classifies as an employee, the U.S. Department of Labor recommends applying the economic reality test. This test was recently revised to clarify previous confusion. The latest revision will go into effect on March 11, 2024. The final rule focuses on 6 economic reality factors. These factors are to be considered in the view of the whole activity and do not have a predetermined weight. Under the Fair Labor Standards Act, if a worker is classified as an employee, their employer is legally obligated to provide benefits and protections. In this worker relationship, the employer directs how, when, and where a job is to be done. The employer is also responsible for withholding taxes. When a worker is classified as an independent contractor, the employer is absolved of any previously discussed obligations. Instead, the independent contractor bears the responsibility of supplying their own insurance and paying their own taxes. By having legal support, PrideStaff can protect its interests by procuring business through properly utilized employment agreements. With their business plan, it is imperative for PrideStaff's clients to not assume the role of employer. This frees the client of employer obligations, making PrideStaff's markup fee desirable. Here is an example of an employment agreement PrideStaff might use. Like with all employment agreements, this agreement can protect the employer and employee from legal misunderstandings. These agreements outline the intent to employ, the duties and responsibilities, and the terms and conditions of employment. All employment agreements include clauses that cover compensation. Within these clauses, you will find details on how and when an employee will be paid. The clauses will also include information on tax withholdings and overtime compensation. Employee benefits are also set forth. Particular to this PrideStaff employment agreement is the clause that reiterates the fact that PrideStaff employees are not entitled to benefits provided by their assigned client companies. Employment agreements typically include confidentiality clauses. These clauses identify what is considered confidential and proprietary information, and how that information is to be used. The terms of confidentiality are also included within the confidentiality clauses. These terms can be a specific time frame or simply a statement of survivorship beyond the termination of the agreement. Of course, these terms cannot extend beyond what is legally allowed. Protective covenants are also included in an employment agreement. These covenants can be written into the agreement, or they can be written as a separate agreement, which are simply referred to in the employment agreement. It is wise to include miscellaneous provisions at the end of an agreement. These provisions help make dispute resolutions more efficient. The miscellaneous provisions found in this employment agreement covers concepts like governing law and the severability of unenforceable agreements. To comply with current employment laws, Pride staff may need additional legal support beyond their employment agreements. This support could be in the way of reviewing their documentation, like confidentiality agreements, staffing agency contracts, or even employee handbooks. This is especially true if the handbooks are referenced in their employment agreements or staffing agency contracts. For your reference, this is an example of a staffing agency contract. PrideStaff would have contracts like these for each of their clients. These agreements cover how the staffing agency is to be paid, what work the client needs, and who is responsible for the assigned employees. Thank you for watching my presentation. If you would like further information about PrideStaff or the legal templates used in this presentation, please see the corresponding websites. Thank you, and have a great day.